Brock Lesnar fall during Raw entrance YouTube script. Wait, did that just happen? Brock Lesnar, the Beast incarnate, the man who's been portrayed as the most unstoppable force in WWE for over 2 decades, just fell during his entrance on Raw like he's some rookie who doesn't know how to work the ring. Are you kidding me right now? This is the same guy who's been German suplexing people for 20 years, who's been presented as this legitimate combat athlete, and he trips over his own feet during an entrance. This is either the most embarrassing moment of Brock's career, or WWE production completely failed to protect their top star. And the way WWE handled it, or didn't handle it, has everyone questioning whether this changes how we view Brock Lesnar forever. Before we break down exactly what happened and why this matters more than people think, tell me, does seeing a monster character make a mistake destroy their credibility, or does it make them more human? Drop your take now. Monday Night Raw just delivered a moment that nobody expected, and trust me, WWE definitely didn't want it to happen. Brock Lesnar, during what should have been a routine entrance, took an accidental fall that was captured on camera and is now being shared across every social media platform. This isn't just a minor stumble, this is a moment that could affect Brock's mystique. Let's establish exactly what happened because the details are crucial. Brock's music hit, the pyro went off, the crowd popped because seeing Brock is always a big deal. He started making his entrance down the ramp, doing his signature bounce and intensity, looking every bit like the Beast incarnate we know. And then something went wrong. Whether it was the ramp being slippery, Brock misjudging a step, or equipment malfunction, Brock took a tumble. It wasn't a worked fall as part of a storyline, this was clearly an accident that nobody planned for. The cameras caught it live, which means WWE couldn't edit it out. The production team had a split second to decide how to handle it. Do they cut away immediately? Do they stay on it? Do they pretend it didn't happen? The decision they made tells us a lot about WWE's priorities. Brock recovered quickly, which shows his professionalism. He got up, shook it off, and continued his entrance like nothing happened. But the damage was done. The fall was captured, memed, and turned into viral content within minutes. WWE's commentary team had to make an instant decision about whether to acknowledge it. Did they make a joke? Did they ignore it completely? Did they spin it as Brock being so aggressive he can't contain himself? How they handled the commentary matters for the narrative. Have you ever had an embarrassing moment happen in public? How did you recover? Share your story. Now let's talk about Brock Lesnar's mystique because that's what's really at stake here. Brock has been carefully crafted as this invincible force for years. He's the guy who doesn't sell moves. He's the guy who destroys everyone. He's the guy who moves like a freak athlete despite being 280 pounds. That mystique is valuable. It's what makes Brock special. It's why WWE pays him millions of dollars. It's why fans react when his music hits. The aura of invincibility is what separates Brock from everyone else on the roster. But when you fall during an entrance, when you do something clumsy and human and normal, that mystique takes a hit. Suddenly Brock isn't this untouchable warrior, he's just a guy who can trip like anyone else. That's a problem for character presentation. WWE has worked for years to make Brock seem superhuman. They carefully control his appearances. They limit his matches to protect him from overexposure. They script his segments to maximize his intimidation factor. One accidental fall threatens to undo all that work. The question is, how much damage does this actually do? Are fans going to stop buying Brock as a threat because he fell once? Or is this a momentary blip that will be forgotten by next week? That depends entirely on how WWE handles it moving forward. If WWE acknowledges the fall, makes a joke about it, and moves on, that shows confidence. It says, yes, Brock's human, but he's still the Beast. That could actually help by making him more relatable. But if WWE pretends it never happened, if they scrub it from highlights and never mention it, that looks insecure. It suggests they're desperately trying to protect an image that's too fragile to withstand one moment of humanity. Does one mistake destroy a character's credibility, or can they recover? Give me examples from wrestling history. Here's what's making people furious: this fall is being memed to death on social media, and some people are treating it like it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. They're making jokes about Brock being old, being washed up, being past his prime. And look, I get it. Seeing someone who's presented as invincible have a very human moment is inherently humorous. There's comedy in the contrast between how Brock is portrayed and what actually happened. But the cruelty of internet culture means people aren't just laughing, they're using this as ammunition to tear Brock down. They're saying he should retire. They're saying he's lost his fastball. They're saying WWE should stop pushing him. That's unfair. Brock Lesnar is still one of the most athletic and capable performers in WWE. One fall during an entrance doesn't change his in-ring ability. It doesn't erase his legitimate combat sports background. It doesn't invalidate everything he's accomplished. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has awkward moments. The fact that Brock's happened on live television with millions watching doesn't make it worse, it just makes it more public. but social media culture demands perfection and punishes any deviation. WWE wrestlers are human beings who perform incredibly dangerous choreography under pressure. They deserve grace when accidents happen. Mocking Brock for a simple fall is like mocking a dancer who stumbles or an athlete who misses a shot. It happens. The counterargument is that Brock gets paid millions to be perfect. He's supposed to be a professional at the highest level. If you're getting paid that much, you should be able to walk down a ramp without falling. Standards matter. Should fans have empathy for wrestlers when mistakes happen, or should we hold them to higher standards? Interesting ethical question. Let's discuss the production side of this because WWE's production team made instant decisions that affect how this moment is perceived. The way they filmed and presented the fall matters more than the fall itself. Did the cameras immediately cut away when Brock fell? That would show they were trying to protect him but also make the fall more obvious by drawing attention to the cut. Sometimes the best response is to just keep filming normally. Did they do a replay? God, I hope not. Replaying Brock's fall would be absolutely brutal and make it seem like WWE is making fun of their own star. That would be production sabotage. Did Kevin Dunn, or whoever's directing Raw now, make the right call? Did they minimize the damage or make it worse? Production decisions in moments like these reveal a lot about WWE's priorities and competence. The commentary team's reaction is crucial too. Did they acknowledge it with humor? Did they ignore it? Did they spin it as Brock being so pumped up he couldn't contain his energy? The narrative they provided shapes how fans remember this moment. If commentary made a joke like Brock's so ready to fight he can barely walk straight, that turns a negative into character work. If they pretended it didn't happen, that creates awkwardness because everyone saw it. The worst possible response would be commentary burying Brock by making it seem like a big deal. Oh my, Brock Lesnar just fell. Is he okay? Is he injured? That would make it seem catastrophic when it's really just a simple misstep. What would you have done as director/commentator in that moment? How would you have handled it? Here's a controversial take. Maybe this fall is actually good for Brock Lesnar's character. Maybe showing vulnerability makes him more interesting and dynamic than being a one-dimensional unstoppable monster. Think about the most beloved wrestlers in history. They all had moments of weakness or humanity that made them relatable. Stone Cold showed vulnerability. The Rock was occasionally embarrassed. Even Undertaker had moments where his mystique was challenged. Perfect, invincible characters are boring. They're predictable. There are no stakes when you know they'll win every time. But a character who can be vulnerable, who can fail, who can have bad days, that's interesting. Maybe Brock falling during his entrance sets up a storyline where he's slightly off his game. Maybe an opponent notices and exploits it. Maybe Brock has to overcome self-doubt. That's character development that makes him more than just a monster who wins. The human moments are what fans remember. People still talk about Shawn Michaels at the Royal Rumble, or Stone Cold breaking his neck, or The Rock's "This is awesome" chant. Imperfection creates memorable moments. If WWE is smart, they could lean into this. Have Brock acknowledge it, maybe even make a joke about it. Show that he's confident enough to laugh at himself. That would actually make him more intimidating because it shows nothing rattles him. But the risk is that WWE tries to weaponize this against Brock in a storyline. Having a heel opponent mock Brock about falling would be brutal and probably go too far. There's a line between good storytelling and genuine cruelty. Can imperfection actually improve a character's appeal? Or should monsters always be perfect? Philosophy time. Now let's talk about age because that's the uncomfortable subtext everyone's thinking about. Brock Lesnar is 47 years old. He's not the young athlete who debuted in WWE over 20 years ago. Bodies change, reflexes slow, coordination isn't what it used to be. Is this fall a sign that Brock is aging out of his role? Is this the beginning of decline for the Beast incarnate? Should WWE start transitioning him toward retirement? These are legitimate questions that this incident raises. Every athlete eventually hits that point where their body can't do what their mind wants. We've seen it with countless wrestlers who stayed too long. The falls become more frequent. The moves aren't as crisp. The timing is off. But one fall doesn't prove anything. Maybe the ramp was genuinely slippery. Maybe there was water or pyro residue. Maybe it was equipment failure rather than Brock's coordination. We shouldn't jump to conclusions based on a single incident. Brock has also had fewer matches in recent years, which means less ring time and less practice with entrances and basic movements. When you only perform occasionally, you can get rusty. That's not about age, that's about frequency. The counterargument is that professionals maintain their skills regardless of how often they perform. If you can't walk down a ramp safely, how can you perform complex moves in the ring? Maybe this is a warning sign that shouldn't be ignored. WWE needs to be monitoring their older performers' physical capabilities, not to discriminate, but to ensure safety. If someone can't safely perform, they shouldn't be in the ring, regardless of their star power or drawing ability. Should there be an age limit for active wrestlers? Or should it be purely based on ability regardless of age? Here's what WWE should do moving forward to handle this situation properly and protect Brock's character. First, don't overreact. One fall doesn't define Brock's career. Don't make dramatic changes or suddenly treat him differently. Business as usual is often the best response. Second, address it briefly if at all. Maybe a quick acknowledgement that shows confidence, like even the Beast can have a misstep, and then move on. Don't dwell on it. Third, have Brock destroy someone in his next match. Nothing erases a humanizing moment like reminding everyone that Brock is still the most dangerous man in WWE. Let his in-ring work speak louder than the fall. Fourth, don't let opponents mock the fall in promos. That crosses a line from storytelling into mean-spirited. Keep the focus on actual feuds and conflicts, not real-life accidents. Fifth, improve safety protocols. Check ramps before entrances. Ensure surfaces aren't slippery. Take measures to prevent this from happening to anyone. This could have been much worse if Brock actually injured himself. Sixth, if it becomes a meme that won't die, embrace it. WWE's best moments often come from owning their mistakes rather than pretending they didn't happen. Confidence is attractive. If you were in charge of WWE Creative, how would you handle this incident in storylines? Let me give you my prediction for how this plays out. I think WWE will completely ignore the fall. They'll scrub it from official highlights, commentators won't mention it, and they'll act like it never happened. That's WWE's typical response to unplanned moments. I think fans will meme it for about a week, and then it'll fade from collective memory. By next month, most people won't even remember it happened. That's the nature of viral moments in the internet age. I think Brock's next appearance will be carefully managed to show him as dominant and powerful. WWE will overcompensate to rebuild any lost mystique. Expect someone to get absolutely destroyed. I think in-ring performers might internally joke about it backstage, but it won't affect how they work with Brock. Everyone knows accidents happen, and professional courtesy means not making it a big deal. I think long-term this becomes a footnote in Brock's career. 20 years from now when people discuss Brock's legacy, the fall won't even be mentioned. It's too minor compared to his actual accomplishments. I think the only way this becomes significant is if more incidents happen. If Brock has multiple coordination issues, then this fall becomes the first warning sign, but as an isolated incident, it means nothing. Do you agree with my predictions? What do you think happens next? Share your forecast. Here's my final take on Brock Lesnar's accidental fall during his Raw entrance. This is a nothing burger that's being overblown by internet culture that loves to mock and tear down. Yes, Brock fell. Yes, it looked awkward, but it doesn't change anything about his abilities, his legacy, or his value to WWE. Accidents happen to everyone. The best performers are the ones who recover quickly and don't let momentary mistakes define them. Brock got up and continued like nothing happened. That's professionalism. The memes and jokes are funny in the moment, but they'll be forgotten quickly. Social media has a short memory. By next week, we'll be talking about something completely different. WWE's handling of this situation will reveal more about their confidence in Brock than the fall itself. If they overreact, it shows insecurity. If they ignore it and move on, that shows strength. Brock Lesnar is still one of the most impressive performers in wrestling. One fall doesn't change his combat sports background, his athletic ability, or his drawing power. Let's keep perspective. The wrestling community needs to be better about not kicking people when they're down. Wrestlers are human beings who make mistakes. Mocking them for accidents isn't entertainment, it's cruelty. Now I need your complete thoughts. On a scale of 1 to 10, how embarrassing was this fall? Does this change your perception of Brock Lesnar at all? Should WWE acknowledge the fall or pretend it never happened? What's the most embarrassing wrestler mistake you've ever seen? Do you think Brock is showing signs of age, or was this just bad luck? Should there be more empathy for wrestlers when accidents happen? Will you ever forget seeing the Beast fall during his entrance? Smash that like button if you think people are overreacting to this fall. Subscribe to Wrestling Newsletter because we cover everything in wrestling, the good and the awkward. Hit that notification bell. Share this video with people who need perspective about wrestling mistakes. Brock Lesnar fell during his entrance, and the internet lost its mind. Let's talk about what really matters. Accidents happen in wrestling. It's live television with real human beings. Let's show some grace while still acknowledging when funny moments occur. That's the balance we need.